Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that really separates the legendary companies from, well, the ones that become cautionary tales. It all comes down to what we're calling the promise we make, the one thing a business decides it can never, ever break. So where do we start? Not with some dry business theory, no. We're starting with a crisis, a moment where a tiny, tiny fraction of a second threatened to unravel one of the biggest companies in the world. Half a second. Think about it. What can you even do in half a second? It's basically nothing, right? Well, back in 2006, that tiny amount of time was enough to trigger a full-blown crisis at Google, putting their entire business model at risk. So here's the crazy situation Google found themselves in. They thought, hey, let's be more helpful. They upped their search results from 10 to 30 on a page. And you'd think more is better, right? Engagement should have shot through the roof. But the exact opposite happened. People started searching less. Why? Because those extra results slowed the page down from 0.4 seconds to 0.9 seconds. That half-second delay was causing a huge drop-off. And that's when it hit them. Google wasn't just in the business of information, they were in the business of instant information. That tiny delay, that moment of friction, it wasn't just a technical glitch. It was breaking an unspoken promise they had made to every single user. And people were literally walking away because of it. So this little crisis, it forced Google to take a long, hard look in the mirror and ask themselves, what is the one thing we absolutely cannot mess up? And that brings us right to the central idea of this whole explainer, the core promise. Now, a core promise, this isn't just some catchy slogan you slap on a billboard. Forget that. This is the operational soul of a company. It's the one rule that you never, ever break. It dictates every single decision, from the code they write to the people they hire. And this is how they started talking about it inside the company. Some engineers said, hey, easy fix. Let's just go back to showing 10 results. But Marissa Mayer, who was a top exec there, she said, no, absolutely not. She saw it not as a technical problem, but as a broken promise. The goal wasn't to work around the issue. It was to do what seemed impossible. And that's exactly what they did. The engineering team spent months just tearing apart their core systems, optimizing every single millisecond. This wasn't a patch, it was a fundamental reinvention. And that obsession with speed, that became the bedrock for everything that came next. Think Gmail, think Maps, it all started right here. And Google isn't the only company that's done this. Plenty of legendary companies have built their entire empires around keeping one simple, powerful promise to their customers. Just think about FedEx. Fred Smith didn't just sorta promise to get your package there quickly. He made this outrageously bold promise and then built an entire, insane system from the ground up just to keep it. He didn't let his limitations define his promise. He built a system that completely destroyed those limitations. Okay, so that's what happens when you have a clear promise. But what happens when you don't? What happens when a company has no compass, no true north to guide it? I mean, just look at Yahoo. They had it all. Back in the day, they were the internet. But what was their promise? Were they a media company, a search company? They never really decided. They tried to be everything to everyone, and you know how that story goes. They ended up being nothing to anyone. They just drifted into irrelevance, while Google, with its laser-focused promise, took over. But, a company can fall apart even faster when the promises it makes to its own employees are totally at odds with the promise it should be making to the world. And the absolute best, or maybe worst example of this? Oh yeah, WeWork. Just look at this. It's wild. Internally, every single team at WeWork was crushing it. The real estate folks were signing leases left and right, marketing was going viral, sales was hitting all their targets, high fives all around, right? But the company itself was hemorrhaging money, losing almost $2 billion a year. Why? Because everybody was playing their own little game and no one was focused on the one promise that actually mattered, building a business that could, survive. So when you look at these stories, it becomes really clear. A core promise isn't just some nice goal to have, it's a compass. It's the one thing that makes sure every single person is pulling the rope in the same direction. Yeah, it acts like a filter for every single decision you make. It makes it super clear what you should say yes to. But honestly, the more important part is that it gives you the guts to say no to everything else. For Google, that meant saying no to a slower search page, even if it had more stuff on it. For FedEx, it meant saying no to a cheaper, less reliable way of doing things. And that's what this all boils down to for you. It doesn't matter if you're building a massive company, leading a small team, or just figuring out your own career. The biggest, most important question you can ask yourself is this: what is the core promise that you're making? And what are you truly willing to build or even sacrifice to make sure you keep it?